Okay, we're live.
We're live? Okay, great. Welcome. Good morning. It's my pleasure to welcome everyone to our joint boards of directors meeting for October 8th, 2020. So I will call the meeting to order. And at this time, I would like to have a stand for the invocation led by Director Crean and the Pledge of Allegiance led by Director Minigar.
Okay. Shall we pray? Dear God,
enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Okay, go ahead.
Is it time? Shall we start?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Shall we pray? Dear God, thank you for all your bountiful blessings. Even in these difficult times, we can look in our hearts and see your many blessings. We pray for the health of the President, the First Lady, the White House staff, and the President's inner circle, that there will be no remaining effects of the flu. We ask for your blessings in all who have contracted the virus and pray for your comfort to families and friends whose loved ones have lost the battle. Please give us wisdom and guidance as we make decisions that will affect our TCA and toll road families. And we ask your safety and all those who drive on our roads. In your holy name we say, amen.
Amen. Director Minigar.
Would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the greatest country on the face of the earth, the flag of the United States of America, and repeat after me. Place your right hand on your heart, and those who have served in the military, salute. I pledge allegiance
To the flag.
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so very much, and please be seated. At this time, I will turn to the clerk of the board and ask for a roll call for both boards.
Good morning, Madam Chair and honorable directors. KJ Doolittle, Assistant Clerk of the Board. I will now proceed with roll call. Vice Chair O'Neill.
Here.
Director James.
Here.
Director Connors.
Here.
Director Heft. Director Minigar.
Present.
Director Munsing. Director Stevens.
Here.
Director Vic Sorick.
Here.
Vice Chair Puckett.
Here.
Director Beal.
Here.
Director Chafee.
Present.
Director Wong.
I am here.
Director Crane.
Here.
Director Mueller.
Here.
Director Murphy.
Here.
Director Voigt.
Here. Thank you.
Director Ward.
Present.
Chair Kelly.
Here.
Chair Shea.
Here.
Alternate Goebel.
Here.
Director Penaloza.
Here.
Director Taylor.
Here.
Director Wagner.
Here.
Director Chamberlain.
Here.
Director Heft.
Here.
Noting the absence of Director Munsing, Madam Chair, we have quorum.
And of course, we all know that he's still in the hospital, and we hope that we all continue our prayers for his speedy recovery. So with that, we'll move to public comments. Clerk of the board, do we have public comments? And I do need to read the narrative. Is that correct, or would you like to read it? I'll read it. Okay,
Yes, we do have public comment, and at this time, during live public broadcasting, members of the public may address the joint boards of directors regarding any items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the joint boards of directors, but no action may be taken on off-agenda items unless authorized by law. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person and 20 minutes for all comments unless the chair, subject to the approval of the boards of directors, set different time limits. Public comments may be submitted for board meetings by emailing them at publiccomments@thetollroads.com.
Okay, our first public comment received is from Michelle Schumacher, and I'll begin reading that now. Good morning. Taxpayers are curious why in July 2020, the TCA board voted and awarded a $4.6 million contract to Nossaman, then $600,000 more 2 months later, and now the board is now being asked for another $250,000 to go to Nossaman under agenda item 7. This is an obscene amount of money. Unless Nossaman is working to update the legislation to end of the 241 toll road at Oso, there is no way this is justifiable given the money already given to them this year. No taxpayer in Orange County supports this wasteful spending. We ask the board members, are you fiscal conservatives? If the answer is yes, then a no vote is needed on this agenda item. Also, why is the check register or the monthly payments made by the TCA not in the board reports? It is for every other government agency in the state. I requested one in a PRA and it came with the information for payments redacted. Where is the transparency? Who is the TCA paying that they are hiding the information for the payments? Given the insider contracts that are awarded by the TCA, as board members, I will want to know what is going on that they have to hide. Lastly, the previous CEO was making more than the President of the United States. It is our hope that this time the CEO is not making out like a bandit when it is clear that the median household income in Orange County is at $86,000 a year. It is time the wasteful spending and insider contracts stop and the TCA gets serious about paying down the bonds. I hope you have all read the truth in an accounting report that showed you have roughly $858 million to pay $4 billion in debt. Last time there was an economic downturn, the TCA was insolvent yet saved by lobbyists. OC is not in the mood for this failed experiment to continue. Thank you, Michelle. That's the end of that public comment.
Second public comment from Denise Colber. I was surprised when listening to last month's TCA board meeting that Mr. Beals spent such fervor spreading misinformation and hurling irresponsible allegations against the city of San Clemente. To set the record straight for the TCA board members, I have followed this issue closely and can share with you what the city of San Clemente has done. Held 2 toll road forums, both of which the TCA was invited to and participated in, spent money on a traffic study with IBI, which when shared with the past TCA board, Ms. Wong, was very rude and not interested in hearing the results, despite the TCA own studies showed little to no traffic benefit to the proposals, as did the IBI study. A council member organized a toll road trek along the proposed Route 14, which hundreds of residents came to learn about, and a naturalist was there to share information about the resources. Sadly, the toll road trek, Lisa Bartlett covered the event in her newsletter with a new name, Peek at La Pata, essentially lying to her constituents about what the event really was. It is equally concerning that none of you are asking who is the one personally benefiting from the TCA insider contracts the grand jury report mentioned. The dishonesty by a few board members at the meetings is disheartening. The electioneering, misuse, and gift of public funds is something we would expect the board members to speak on instead of hurling untrue misinformation about a member city. it is the TCA that attacked the city of San Clemente and made home values go down through a multi-year long process, when it was clear all the proposals were insane or outside the scope of the agency. That is the only attack, and the deflection needs to stop. Thank you. Murray, DC. That is the end of the second public comment.
Madam Chair. Oh, yes, and this time I'd like to refer to our CEO, Samuel Johnson, for a comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's important that members of the public and our boards of directors always have accurate information.
Yes.
So there were a couple of misstatements in the public comments that I wanted to clarify.
Okay.
On the first public comment, there was a reference to contract award to Nossaman in July. This is inaccurate. In July, the board did take action to increase our legal budget by $600,000 to cover our defense against the lawsuit filed by the city of San Clemente. The public commenter may be referring to our overall legal budget, which includes our legal defense against the city, as well as some other items that we're addressing. Also, I believe what the commenter is requesting is transparency regarding the payments we make to external parties. This is provided to the board in our quarterly procurement reports, which list all expenditures that the agency is making across all our contracts, any external parties. So that transparency is there.
And we have forwarded those documents to the public, so they're aware that, and they do have copies. Is that correct?
They are absolutely posted on as part of the board agenda and posted on our website. So members of the public can easily access those by going to our website, looking at any of our board meetings and finding that information.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
So is that all that you needed to share?
I believe so. And then the second public commenter, I just want to reiterate to the public that the board did conclude its study in South County in March with an alternative that was accepted by all the regional agencies and overwhelmingly supported by the community.
Okay. Thank you for that update. I appreciate it. So now at this time, we've concluded our public comments, and we will move to San Joaquin Hills. And this is San Joaquin Hills only Board of Directors consent calendar, which is items 1 through 3 and item 5. At this time, I would like to ask directors if you would like to pull any item. Okay, without any suggestion to pull an item, is there a motion to move the San Joaquin consent calendar?
I move the calendar. This is Cynthia.
Connors, okay. And is there a second to that? I'll go ahead and second. I'm on the board. I'm sorry. Did someone want to second it?
I believe that was Director O'Neill.
O'Neill, okay, so second by Director O'Neill. So we have a motion by Director Connors, second by Director O'Neill. At this time, I will turn to the clerk of the board to please call the roll for San Joaquin only.
Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Neill,
Yes.
Director James,
Aye.
Alternate Goebel,
Yes.
Director Connors,
Yes.
Director Heft,
Yes.
Director Minigar,
Aye.
Director Penaloza,
Yes.
Director Shea,
Yes.
Director Stevens,
Yes.
Director Taylor,
Yes.
Director Vixaric,
Aye.
Director Wagner.
Aye.
Noting the absence of Director Munzing, the item passes
Thank
unanimously.
you very much. So at this time, we will now move to Foothill Eastern consent calendar. This is just for Foothill Eastern board members only. Items 1 through 2 and 4 through 5. Any directors would like to pull an item from this calendar?
Move the calendar.
There's a motion by Director.
Second, Director Murphy.
Oh, Director Murphy made the second. So we have a motion and a second, a motion by Director Puckett, second by Director Murphy. Would we please have the clerk call the roll?
Chair Shea,
Yes.
Vice Chair Puckett,
Yes.
Alternate Goebel,
Yes.
Director Beal,
Yes.
Director Chafee,
Aye.
Director Wong,
I vote yes.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Crane,
Aye.
Director Miller,
Aye.
Dir- Director Murphy,
Aye.
Director Penaloza,
Yes.
Director Taylor,
Yes.
Director Voigt,
Yes.
Director Wagner,
Aye.
Director Ward.
Aye.
The item passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. So we've concluded our consent calendars for both boards. Now we'll move to board business items 6 and 7. This will include both boards. And at this time, we'll move to item 6, which is investment advisory services. And report will be presented by Howard Malin, our Senior Director of Finance. We'll turn this over to you.
Good morning. I'm Howard Mallon, Senior Director of Finance for the agencies. The item I'm presenting is for approval of a contract with Chandler Asset Management following a request for proposals and was presented to the Joint Finance and Investment Committee on September 23rd. The Joint Finance and Investment Committee unanimously approved the item be recommended for approval by the boards of directors. Next slide, please. As a bit of background, the agencies are required to maintain restricted funds as governed by the bond indentures, such as reserves, debt service funds, and those used for operations. And the agencies also maintain unrestricted funds, which are governed by the California Government Code and the agency's investment policies. Next slide, please. As of the end of August of this year, the investment portfolio balances were over $700 million for each agency. And of those funds, over $500 million per agency were assets under management through an investment advisor. The assets that are not managed by the investment advisor are primarily those invested in pooled funds, such as LAIF, CAMP, or OSIP. And the San Joaquin Hills agency also has funds invested based on tax arbitrage requirements of the IRS that are not managed by the investment advisor. That being said, even though the investment advisor does not manage the entire portfolio, they do provide accounting, reporting, and other functions for all the investments. Next slide, please. So in relation to those services, in addition to the normal strategy and advice and execution of transactions, the agencies utilize investment advisory services as an extension of staff. So the investment advisory firm provides all compliance work, investment accounting, reporting, and all of the related systems. So that, as I mentioned previously, that is for the entire portfolio, not just the assets under their management. Next slide, please. A request for proposals was issued in June of 2020. Approximately 20 firms were notified and it was posted on Planet Bids. The agencies received 2 proposals. Of the firms that chose not to bid, several noted that they either had limited staff resources at the time, some related to COVID. They determined that they could not be competitive in providing the scope of services, and a few firms preferred to operate independently without staff coordination. To supplement the RFP, staff performed a benchmarking study to ensure the pricing was appropriate and to validate the quality of services was in line with the market. Next slide, please. Both firms' proposals were reviewed and both qualified for the interview process. Chandler Asset Management was ranked number 1 by all 3 evaluators, as shown by the scoring here. Next slide. So just to talk about the pricing a bit, pricing for investment advisory services is based on a tiered scale based upon the agency's average assets managed by the advisor. So the proposed pricing scales are shown here for both of the firms. Chandler Asset Management proposed that the agencies pay a 0.04% fee for the first $300 million of assets under management and a 0.03% fee for assets over $300 million with a first-year fee cap of $330,000. PFM proposed, as you can see on the right, higher fees as noted in the table. One item to note is that the agencies are very fortunate to have a fee cap under the existing contract and are pleased that Chandler has offered a first-year fee cap in their proposal. But to note that it is quite unusual and no other entities from the benchmarking study have a cap on their fees. In addition, Chandler's proposed fee schedule is lower than anything we found in the benchmarking study. Next slide, please. So the staff estimated the fees for the 5-year contract term and the 2-year option, which showed that Chandler's fees would be approximately $1.9 million lower, or over 67% less than PFM's fees. Next slide, please. So under the evaluation results, Chandler was deemed to be best qualified for a number of reasons, including the fact that the engagement team was very clear in their approach towards investment strategy, that Chandler offers a very high level of service as evidenced by the service we receive under the current contract, and fully customizable solutions for the agencies. They provide direct daily access to the portfolio manager, and the references were exemplary, including those from member agencies. The fees were extremely competitive as noted, and as a bonus, the continuity will not require system setup and internal control testing of a new firm. Next slide, please. As such, the recommendation for the San Joaquin Hills Transportation Corridor Agency is as follows. 1, to authorize the Chief Executive Officer to award contract number K001343 to Chandler Asset Management for a 5-year term not to exceed $1,075,000 with an optional 2-year extension, which would be brought back to the Board of Directors for approval. And 2, to authorize the Chief Executive Officer to reallocate the aggregate not to exceed costs for this contract to each agency based upon the actual assets under management for each agency's portfolio. Next slide, please. The Foothill recommendation is the same as the San Joaquin recommendation, with the dollar amount being $1,325,000. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for your report. At this time, I will turn to board members. If there's more than 3, then we will go through a roll call. But are there any questions or comments from our board members?
Madam Chair, this is Director Fred Menegar.
This is Cynthia.
Okay. Director Menegar.
Thank you.
Connors. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Okay, I'll turn to Director Menegar.
Thank you, ma'am. I just have one quick question. You mentioned that the RFP was sent to more than 20 firms. All those firms are, did you cover the whole country?
Yes, we did. Many of those firms were not corporate based in California, but had operations in California.
Very good. And I'm very pleased with their pricing structures. I mean, as long as we can get the best price with the best quality service to the agency, then I'm happy with the pursuit. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Okay, is that, and then we'll turn to Director Connor.
Thank you. First, I want to say that I'm very pleased that we're able to continue service that we found very satisfactory and clearly at a very competitive price. And I'm fully in support of this. I just had a question about the investment guidelines imposed by the lender. I understand that our unrestricted funds are invested according to government pooled funds and things like that. But what kinds of guidelines are different for the funds where the bondholders set requirements for the restricted funds?
So it really depends on the specific funds that are within the indenture, but as an example, the debt service funds of the indenture may only be invested in certain US government securities. They may not be invested in corporate bonds or things of that nature. So in some cases, the bond indentures are more restrictive than government code or our investment policies.
Good thought. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That answers your question?
Yes, it does. I'm ready to vote. I move we.
Okay, great.
I move
I was
we
just
put
gonna
this on the
suggest-
ballot. I move we send this to the board. Oh, we are the board. I move we go ahead and adopt the contract.
Going to make a motion to adopt the recommended action. Okay, that's by Director Connors. Is there a second?
Yeah, that's my motion.
Is there a second to that motion for San Joaquin?
Trish Kelly will second.
Okay, so we have a second by Trish Kelly and a motion by Director Connors. At this time, I'll turn to our clerk, and will you please call the roll?
Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Neill,
Yes.
Director James,
Yes.
Alternate Goebel,
Yes.
Director Connors,
Yes.
Director Heft, Director Minigar,
Aye.
Director Penaloza,
Yes.
Director Shea,
Yes.
Director Stevens,
Yes.
Director Taylor,
Yes.
Director Vixerick,
Aye.
Director Wagner,
Aye.
Director Heft. Noting the absence of Director Heft and Director Munsing, the item passes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Now we will turn to Foothill Eastern. I need a motion and a second.
So moved, Kring.
Second, Ward.
Okay, so we have a motion by Director Crean. We have a second by Director Ward. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Chair Shea,
Yes.
Vice Chair Puckett,
Yes.
Alternate Goebel,
Yes.
Director Beal,
Yes.
Director Chafee,
Aye.
Director Wong,
Yes.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Crane,
Aye.
Director Mueller,
Aye.
Director Murphy,
Aye.
Director Penaloza,
Yes.
Director Taylor,
Yes.
Director Voigt,
Yes.
Director Wagner,
Aye.
Director Ward.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. At this time, oh, excuse me.
Chair Shea, this
Yes.
is Director Hess. I got cut off, but I'm coming back, and my vote is aye.
Oh, good. Nice to hear from you again. Okay, at this time, we'll move to item 7, which is State Legislative Advocacy Services. It is a joint Board of Directors item before us. I just want to make it clear from a point of view when we get to the action items, I will be asking to have the votes bifurcated. We have item 1 and 2. I will be asking for votes on item 1 first, and then I'll be asking votes for item 2. But at this time, we will go to a report by Barbie Daly. Thank you.
Madam Chair, this is Trish Kelly. I would like to recuse myself from this item under the Levine Act.
Okay, is there anybody else that needs to recuse themselves? Okay, with that, we will move to the report. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairwoman Shea and directors. I'm Barbie Daly, Director of Legislative Affairs for TCA. I'll be presenting the results of the State Legislative Advocacy Services procurement, as well as staff's recommendation. At the September 24th Joint External Affairs Committee, the committee unanimously voted to recommend approval of the staff recommendation to the boards of directors. Before I begin, I want to inform the boards that in order to avoid any conflicts, Nossaman will not be representing TCA on this item. TCA's outside counsel, Jennifer Dower, with Diepenbrock, Elkin, Dower, McCandless, is representing TCA and is available to respond to any legal matters associated with this item. Next slide, please. Based upon the board-adopted state legislative platform, a state advocacy work plan was developed earlier this year and is currently being implemented. The focus of the work plan is to increase the overall understanding of TCA as a joint powers authority, the unique history of the agencies, our fiscal accomplishments, and operational achievements. We are also focused on advancing legislative measures that benefit TCA and advocating against measures that could impact the agency's ability to achieve our mission. This past year highlighted the need to have a robust presence in Sacramento to address challenges should they arise and to achieve the goals I've just outlined. Based on our experience over the past 9 months, it is clear that having a team of professionals with proven experience representing TCA's legislative interests is critical. As you may recall, in February, staff issued a request for proposals for state legislative advocacy services, but only received one bid. At that time, the committee expressed their desire for a more competitive process, and as a result, staff canceled that procurement and issued a new procurement at a later date. In advance of issuing the new RFP and in an effort to garner multiple bids, staff contacted several legislative advocacy firms to inform them of the upcoming procurement. Staff also extended the proposal submission date 7 weeks to allow ample time for submittals. Next slide, please. An RFP was issued June 19th with proposals due on July 30th. 14 firms were notified and the RFP was posted on the agency's Planet Bids electronic procurement system. 16 firms expressed interest and we received 5 proposals from the following firms: Cruise Strategies, Nossaman, Renee Public Policy Group, Townsend Public Affairs, and Wiedemann Group. The 4 members of the evaluation team independently reviewed the proposals and provided their input to the contract administrator. The evaluation criteria included professional capability, demonstrated competence and specialized experience, work plan and methodology, understanding TCA's needs, and staffing capability, workload, and ability to meet deadlines. Next slide, please. Based on the proposal evaluations, 4 firms were interviewed. Those firms were Cruise Strategies, Nossaman, Renee Public Policy Group, and Townsend Public Affairs. While some of the shortlisted firms' proposals had merit, only one firm stood out as meeting the variety of needs required to accomplish TCA's legislative agenda. Most of the other firms did not demonstrate a clear understanding of TCA's financial model, as they emphasized funding programs, securing grants, and measures irrelevant to TCA's needs. These were not components of the RFP or TCA's legislative platform adopted by the boards. Many firms were largely focused on transit and clean energy clients, with limited exposure to the tolling industry. Many were smaller firms with limited depth of expertise in the areas that are critical to achieve TCA's legislative goals. They also had limited experience working for a joint powers authority. And few firms indicated that they had extensive legislative work on transportation issues relevant to what was requested as part of the procurement. Next slide, please. Both the technical and interview evaluations unanimously identified the Nossaman proposal as the best overall value to provide the expertise and depth of services required to represent TCA. Nossaman was deemed best qualified by all 4 evaluators for the following reasons. Next slide, please. Superior transportation experience, large firm with depth of experience, extensive resources, and legal expertise, highly qualified, industry-regarded team of professionals, knowledge of the tolling industry, having worked closely with the California Toll Operators Committee for a number of years. In fact, the success of securing the temporary license plate legislation in 2016 was due in large part to Nossaman's work, not only with TCA, but also the other tolling agencies in the state. They have a history of providing effective results, and institutional knowledge of TCA, which will be critical as we launch into the upcoming legislative session in just a few weeks. Next slide, please. Prior to issuing the original RFP in February, staff completed a benchmark study of other transportation and single-purpose agencies to ensure pricing was in accordance with the industry and found Nossaman's fees to be competitive. The contract value was split 55% for Foothill Eastern and 45% for San Joaquin Hills in anticipation of an increase in effort for the Foothill Eastern agency. In order to align the contract term with the annual budget, staff is proposing a 3.5-year contract with the following estimated fees and expenses: $287,000 for San Joaquin Hills and $350,000 for Foothill Eastern. On the next slide, I will speak to the specialized subconsultant services that are outlined in the staff report. But before I do, I want to clarify that they were not part of the Nossaman proposal, and staff would have included this recommendation with any of the firms. Therefore, recommendation 2 is optional and has been included for board consideration. To provide additional clarification, staff has separated the 2 recommendations to be voted on independently. Next slide, please. Staff is proposing a $140,000 allocation for as-needed specialized subconsultant services over a 3.5-year period to be used only if needed to allow the agencies to quickly access specialized niche services should they be required. Some of the potential areas of concern include unanticipated challenges requiring a rapid response, changes to statutes or regulations, including CEQA, transportation projects, project implementation, VMT mandates that could affect our ability to advance project. It is also likely that we'll need to build a large coalition in support of the privacy legislation impacting TCA. The likelihood of any firm being able to cover every need, especially those we can't identify upfront, is risky, and staff believes it is necessary to have these resources available if needed in order to mobilize quickly. Next slide, please. Recommendation 1 for the San Joaquin Hills Transportation Corridor Agency: authorize the Chief Executive Officer to execute contract number K001353 with Nossaman to provide state legislative advocacy services for a 3.5-year term in an amount not to exceed $283,500 for services and $3,500 for expenses, with 2 optional 1-year extensions, which would be brought back to the Board of Directors for approval. For the Foothill Eastern Transportation Corridor Agency, authorize the Chief Executive Officer to execute contract number K001353 with Nossaman to provide state legislative advocacy services for a 3.5-year term in an amount not to exceed $346,500 for services and $3,500 for expenses, with 2 optional 1-year extensions, which will be brought back to the Board of Directors for approval. Next slide, please. Again, recommendation 2 is optional based on the board's decision today. And for the San Joaquin Hills Transportation Corridor Agency, that recommendation is to authorize the Chief Executive Officer to approve specialized subconsultant services as needed in an amount not to exceed $63,000 for a 3.5-year term. And for the Foothill Eastern Agency, authorize Chief Executive Officer to approve specialized as-needed services in an amount not to exceed $77,000 for a 3.5-year term. That concludes my report, and I am happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Ms. Daly. Mrs. Daly, I appreciate it. So at this time, we'll move to board questions or comments. If I have more than 3, we will go through a round and call each name. So do we have any members of the board that would like to ask any questions?
Madam Chair, this is Fred Minigar.
Okay.
Director Ward.
Director Miller.
Okay.
Alternate Global.
Okay, so at this time, we have more than three, so we will go through the roll call and start with San Joaquin Hills first.
Director Taylor,
Any questions?
No questions.
Director Stevens,
I just want to say that I support the staff's recommendation on Nossaman. They've done a good job. They've built up a fine infrastructure and have the specialization that we need to serve the agency. And I appreciate the diligence that's been done by staff on this process. And it's, it's a unanimous choice. I believe it's an easy choice, but an important choice. And I support the staff recommendation.
Thank you so very much.
Director Penaloza,
No questions. Thank
Any
you.
comments?
No.
Chair, Director Minigar.
Thank you. I have one question, even though I've discussed this agenda item with Ms. Daly in great details. My question is in reference to the specialty services, which is VMT. VMT to be performed, I presume, by the selected sub-consultant by Nossaman, correct?
Well, we would work with Nossaman on that issue, but if something were to arise that we needed to identify an alternative resource, we would have the ability to do so through that sub-consultant services.
Because of the new law in the state of California, effective July 1st, 2020, as you know, all the agencies in the state have to comply with the new CEQA requirement when it comes down to assessment of capacities, and LOS and delays are no longer, as a measure of traffic conditions or congestion. So therefore, VMT is something new. I just wanted to make sure that we, meaning the TCA as an agency, has the right expertise to do that, because it may come back and haunt us if we don't have the best experts on that specific area of VMT. But you answered my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Shea,
No questions.
Director Wagner,
I had an opportunity to chat with Ms. Daly and one of the evaluators. I am comfortable with this item at this point. Thank you very much.
Director Vixerick,
No questions.
Alternate Goebel,
I'm speaking on behalf of Supervisor Bartlett. The contract is too large for state advocacy. The county's contract for the state is similar to what we would be spending here, so I can't support the item.
Director Hess,
I just want to say that it's evident how much work and time and effort goes in by staff to making sure that we do have the best candidates for these contracts. So that's my comment, and I will be in favor of this.
Director James,
Sorry, I had no questions. Thank you.
Director Connors,
No questions. Thank you.
Vice Chair O'Neill,
No questions. Thank you.
Director Chamberlain,
No questions. Thank you.
that's the end of the director comments.
Okay, wonderful. So what I think I will do is
For
move.
San Joaquin.
For San Joaquin.
That was San Joaquin. I will move to Foothill at this time to ask any questions, and then I will be moving back to San Joaquin to take a vote on item 1 and then item 2 separately, and Foothill, and then item 1 and item 2. So at this time, we'll move to the, unless there's more than 3 people, is there anyone on Foothill that'd like to address the any comments right now?
Director Ward,
Director Miller?
Director Huang.
Okay, so we have three. Okay, we'll start with Director Miller, then go to Director Ward. Oh, I thought I only heard three.
Wong was the last, Director Wong was another one.
No, I know it's Director Wong, Ward, and Director Miller. Who else?
Beal.
Oh, Beal, I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Okay, so this way we'll go through the roll call for Foothill. Please do that. Thank you.
Chair Shea,
No comments.
Director Beal,
Yes, thank you. I'm very pleased with the work that we have received in years past from Nossaman. And I think that the last 2 years provides clear evidence as to why it is so important for the TCA to maintain a robust presence in Sacramento at all times. And I guess one question for staff is, if you, the sort of services that are referenced in this proposal before us today, could you briefly touch upon this, the type of work that fallen under this type of act over the past 2 years? We faced numerous challenges with legislation being sponsored to dismantle the TCA, to stop us from conducting our mission. And wouldn't these be the type of services that we would need to have available to TCA so that we can present to legislators in Sacramento the truth? Because was a lot of information put out over the past couple of years that might have otherwise caused legislators to vote on proposed legislation based upon a misunderstanding. So isn't this the exact type of service that we have needed and relied upon significantly over the past 2 years with some of the legislation that has been proposed against the TCA?
Thank you for that question, Director. Yes, as a matter of fact, this is exactly what we need. As you correctly indicated, this past year in particular was a very busy legislative calendar. We had many challenges. In addition to that, the truncated legislative session added another level of challenge. And we had a team that was nimble. We had a team that was able to hit the ground running and knew the issues and was able to educate members in a way that effectively helped to stop legislation that could have negatively impacted TCA. I'm very happy with the Nossaman team. They complement each other in their skill sets. Over the years, there have been 12 attempts by project opponents to hamstring the agencies and take away our authority to provide the transportation improvement we have today, and that are unquestionably enhancing the quality of life in Orange County. And that is exactly what we need to continue to have the resources to do.
Thank you. And so, for example, there was Senator Bates' bill last year, and then it didn't move forward. And it was the type of services in this contract that were instrumental, correct, in educating legislators up there about what the TCA's true position is and what Route 22 meant, what it didn't mean, etc. Isn't this the exact type of work that we needed then?
Yes, it is. And part of what our team does is it's a constant education campaign to correct misinformation, not just education with members, but also committee staff. And they are constantly briefing based on information that's being circulated that is inaccurate. So it's very important to have, if you will, boots on the ground in Sacramento so that we have a presence there to address those kind of allegations and the misinformation.
So can I just ask you, if we didn't have the contract in place this past year, how would we have conducted all of that important work in Sacramento? How could we have got TCA's message across to the people that needed to hear it in the state legislature?
Well, that's a really good question. TCA's business model is predicated on a small staff while outsourcing resources. And since there's only one legislative staff person for both agencies, which would be myself, support in Sacramento is critical as they function as an extension of staff. So without the resources and without our advocacy team in place in Sacramento, we would have been extremely challenged in accomplishing the goals that we did this past year.
Okay. I would just note that, for example, I've heard that Senator Bates is trying to reintroduce her anti-TCA legislation in the next session. It's my opinion that we have got to be very well prepared and have a robust presence in Sacramento if we want to protect this agency. So I'm very supportive of the proposal before us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Beal. Director Wagner?
Still no questions. Thank you.
Director Ward?
Okay, I have one question real quick of staff before I talk about this for discussion. The sub-consultant fees, does that include Robert Naylor and Richard Harris, or are those other people? And Harris and Taylor or Naylor are part of the Nossaman contract?
Thank you for that question because it adds additional clarification on option number 2. Mr. Harris and Mr. Naylor are part of the base contract. They are subs to Nossaman, and they are part of the retainer that is set in that base contract.
Okay, so I was trying to follow what Director Minigar said about VMT and all of that, but I'm just not sure what the specialty sub-consultants would be. And I'm a little concerned about the board being asked to approve those when we don't know who they are. Don't we have a pretty good idea of a bench of people that we would contact?
I would say that we do have an idea of whom we might contact, but we don't know basically what we don't know. We don't know what those challenges may be in the next 2 years. So we need to have resources set aside in case they don't fall within the scope of skills within Nossaman. I firmly believe that Nossaman has all of the skills we need, but until we identify what a challenge could be, I would be concerned about the risk in relying on one agency to be able to perform everything, especially since we don't know upfront what those risks might be.
Okay, so I would tell the board that I'm just concerned with the fact that, again, this contract is Nossaman. We've been paying them under their legal umbrella in years past, and I'm happy that we're doing a separate procurement, but it's still Nossaman. It's still the same group that drafts enabling and legislation, and then also then strategically advocates for the same legislation that they actually drafted. And in this case, they drafted our joint powers agreement and our enabling legislation. And so they pretty much created us. And some would say that that's good to have them up there in Sacramento fighting because they know it better than anyone. But it's also bad because they're working on both sides. So they're up there advocating and protecting their own work that's up there. You know, I found also that they are Nossaman is a political PAC where they contribute heavily to candidates within the state of California and said that they're one of the major contributors. So they're on all sides of this. I would argue that any great lobbying firm could do this contract and probably do it for a lot less because Nossaman's going to throw everything at it to fight. And one of the things that I really found interesting, and this bothers me, is they were the best overall value for their ability to provide the technical expertise, advocacy, and depth of services required to represent the agencies, especially given the nuances associated with the TCA's Joint Powers Authority. That statement has never been said before. I am not happy that Nossaman is not here to defend this, because that's one of the questions I have always had, and tried to get a board discussion on our Joint Powers Authority. Joseph will only ever talk about the enabling legislation, but will not have a discussion on the TCA Joint Powers Authority. I agendized that clear back in 2018. The agency refused to agendize it, and then George Joseph came to the meeting, which was a meeting of the Foothill Eastern, a budget meeting. He came to it and wouldn't let us talk about it because it wasn't agendized. So to me, when you have a legal person that drafted, I'm sorry, does someone want to speak? Because I'm hearing some sighing.
No, no one's
Thank
trying
you
to
very
speak.
much.
We're allowing you to speak. It's your time.
All right, I'm just hearing some very loud sighing. So when you have an attorney that has created the agency and they're busy lobbying for the creation, the laws and legislation that they put out, and then they prevent a member of the Joint Powers Authority from agendizing a discussion and won't let the board talk about this together as one body, that's very concerning. And to me, you know, they're saying that they're just going to monitor legislation up there, and there wasn't that much legislation that actually made it through. I think there was only 14 bills, and to me, 15,000 a month is about double what it should be for someone to monitor. So, and basically this says that they're going to proactively advocate for legislation that will benefit TCA. That's not the only concerning thing, though, because when you look up Nossaman and their legislative arm, it says that they develop strategies to challenge initiative measures. They also draft, qualify, and place ballots, strategically competitive initiatives to counter those brought by project opponents. They draft, process, and circulate initiative petitions so that the best practice could withstand judicial scrutiny. And they also challenge and defend initiative measures in the trial. And then the last one, providing lobbying capabilities and legislative advocacy directed at statutory change as a means to counter the effect of initiative measures. So that's why we're paying double. We're going to have a team up there that actively goes after and does whatever they can to challenge or create petitions and measures that counter something that's going on. And the word proactively says they're going to do that without coming back to the board. And I don't think that's right. If somebody's monitoring, they should monitor it and then come to the board, and the board's quite capable of saying what we want to do. So I'm not going to be able to be for this. It's a gigantic conflict of interest to me that Nossaman is on all sides of this, and they have not wanted to talk about the Joint Powers Agreement, and that to me is a gigantic red flag.
Thank you so much for your comments. Emmett, did you say you wanted to follow up on anything or no?
Yeah, just to further answer your initial question there, Director Ward. So, you know, we have historical reference on who we've used in the past to augment Nossaman, but that's not to say that we can definitely point to those folks and say we'll need them in the future. So we have a sense of who we used in the past and might use in the future, but there are also these other areas as staff has highlighted that may involve VMT. I think several of the board members are aware of Proposition 24, which deals with privacy. We have our own tolling industry privacy that we still need to figure out how to move forward, which is going to require some coalition building. So there's definitely some things on our radar that we're watching that we're probably going to need some help with. And as Ms. Daly noted in her presentation, Nossaman is a great firm. The team they propose has some great depth. but we feel that we would be taking risk if we put all our eggs in just that one basket. So we want to make sure we're flexible and can be responsive. In terms of some of your other comments, I think us having an advocacy firm that is knowledgeable about TCA is a benefit to the agencies. So I think that knowledge regarding our enabling legislation, our JPAs, is important. And there is a clear distinction between the functions that they perform as general counsel versus advocacy. And then just to remind the board that staff, based on the board and committee's direction, we are also working on a procurement to establish a bench of attorneys, which would include general counsel, which might end up being someone other than Nossaman.
Okay, so are there other, do you want to call other names? Okay.
Alternate Goebel?
Can I come back? I'm listening to everyone's comments and it's helpful.
Director Chafee? Director Penaloza?
No comments at this time.
Director Voigt?
No comment. Thank you. My questions have been answered. Thank you.
Director Taylor?
Oh, yeah, a quick question for Barbie. I see that most of the time we spend has been kind of on a defensive mode, but going forward, what would you say are our positive, advocacy goals for the near future?
Sure. I think one of the things that will be on a proactive basis is the continuation of clarifying existing law so that we can abide by the state mandate to be interoperable. This is something we've been working on. We had actually been very successful in moving, it was SB 664 through the Assembly Transportation Committee, getting a unanimous support. And we were working it through the Assembly Privacy Committee, but unfortunately, due to the pandemic, the bill did not move forward. We're in the process right now of continuing to work with stakeholders that have an interest in this issue so that we can build consensus. We're also working with the other CTOC agencies on this matter. Many of them believe that this is very important, data in the Bay Area, LA Metro. And so we're continuing to build on that coalition. So that would be the number one proactive thing that we are going to be working on because it's important to TCA, given the number of transactions we have, as well as the nearly 2 million account holders. So clarifying existing law to avoid future frivolous lawsuits is very important.
And Director Taylor, this is Samuel Johnson. I would also share that it's important based on our recent experiences that we need to counter the misinformation that's out there. As you heard earlier on public comments, there's a lot of falsities floating around, especially regarding our finances. I was going to address that comment at the end under CEO reports, but we had someone from the public make a statement that at one point we were insolvent. That is absolutely false. But unfortunately, that type of information is spreading to our legislators, including at the Sacramento level. So the only way we can counter that is by proactively reaching out to them to introduce ourselves, making sure, as Ms. Daly noted, that we properly educate them about TCA, where we stand fiscally, the work we're doing, the conclusion of the South County study, what things look like going forward, and to make sure that the positive story we have in Orange County and what we've done with our transportation system is made known. I think if we can successfully do that proactively, then when bills such as we've experienced in the past, when those come up, people have the facts and can think objectively about what they're seeing versus just hearing the misinformation.
Thank you.
that helpful? Thank you. Okay, so clerk, if you would go through the.
Director Chafee?
You are on mute, Director Chafee.
Oh, I'm sorry. Somehow that got muted. No questions. Thank you.
Vice Chair Puckett?
I've been on this board for 8 years, and my observation has been that Gossamer has provided tremendous, phenomenal results. So I am totally supportive of this action.
Director Murphy?
No additional questions at this time. Thank you.
Director Crane?
Yes, I just want to thank Barbie and her team for doing what the committee said, go out and get as many people to come and request an RFP. And so I think that the team did a great job. You brought it down to 5 and then unanimously went to NOSM. And so I'm very supportive of this action. Thank you.
Director Mueller?
Thank you. So Ms. Daly and I had a long conversation, actually 2 very long conversations about this item. And since I'm not on external affairs, you know, I don't know what went on in that committee meeting. I didn't go back and listen to it. Perhaps I should have. But I do want to commend, I don't know if it came out of the committee or if Ms. Daly took this upon herself, but to go out and find an independent evaluator. I think that's important for contractors like this. Get an set of outside eyes on it, especially for a contract like Nossaman that's been in house for 25 years or whatever the time frame is. And they did that. My only recommendation on that would be we shouldn't have staff pick that outside evaluator. I think that committee should reach out and do that if we're going to. That makes it a little bit more transparent, so we know who it is. But going from that, you know, I went down and I looked at this staff report, and I started going through the costing on it. And so you've answered a couple of my questions today. That $140,000 for the third party. I have one quick question on that. Is how do you know how much to put in that contract? You have, you know, 2 different amounts for, I guess, for VMT, because you'd expect to see more of that on 241 than 73. But how did you come up with those dollar amounts?
So we asked each of the bidders to provide their hourly rate as an indication of the hourly rate that we could expect to have to pay for those specialized services. And in that, each of the bidders, for the most part, they were within the same range. One bidder was actually kind of an outlier.
Let me ask my question differently.
Okay.
How did you determine how much work you were going to need in terms of hours, or how do you know when you said it's really undefined what you're going to need?
Right.
So how did you come up with the hours that you're going to need for that?
So I
Director Miller, Ms. Daly. So Director Miller, this is Samuel Johnson. You know, I won't claim there was a lot of science and math there. As we've explained earlier, this is kind of like a contingency dollar amount. So through my discussions with Ms. Daly and looking at perhaps, you know, our past experience and needing to get some extra folks who are really focused on this for a 2-month period, or 2 or 3 month period, we talked about potentially needing $40,000 per year to be able to address that type of situation. And then from that rough estimate of $40,000, we did the math to get to the 3.5 years and arrive at the 140.
Mr. Johnson, yes, let me ask you a question. I was going to ask this in a minute, but I'm glad you jumped in. What's your signing authority for an individual contract?
Currently, right now, the CEO's authority is $25,000 per agency.
Okay, so would it not be reasonable to say if we needed these outside services, that you're in a position to sign to get them started, and then you could come back to the board and ask for any additional funds that you would need instead of allocating these funds right now that we may or may not need?
that is definitely something we can explore, Director Miller, if that's the board's direction. I think staff was trying to be extremely transparent and making sure that the board knew and understood that we might need additional resources outside Nossaman. So this is our approach, but it definitely does not exclude the possibility that you noted.
Well, and the only reason I brought that up is if we really don't know what we're going to need, how do we justify even allocating $1 to it right now? Because we may not need it at all. This is just a guess of what's going forward. And you can put that in the staff report that we may need this, and we're estimating this dollar amount, but we're not going to allocate it today. And like you said, you may need it quickly. I don't know why we would not have enough time to get in front of the board that you'd have to respond to something like that, because VMT and I guess legislation, I guess it can be introduced at 3 days before it was supposed to be voted on. I could see that. So,
yes.
I'm not hung up on it. It's just a question I'm trying to understand, how we got there. But anyway, so let me finish. I think I like where staff is going with the independent evaluators. I think that it would be nice to have the committee pick that, because now you have a committee selected evaluator, which quite frankly gives the board the staff even more cover. But going back to the chart with the evaluation and how they ranked everybody, I'm looking at evaluator 3 and evaluator 4. Evaluator 3 has the range between Cruz and Knox at 4 points, and evaluator 4 has it at 2. And so I'm not really sure why Cruz was eliminated or not chosen. I don't want to say eliminated. They weren't selected. From what I understand, that they have a lot of experience in the trades, which tells me that they know a lot of legislators up in Sacramento if they're working with the trade industries, that they should have access to all the people we need them to have access to, and may have very good relationships with people that we need those relationships for in terms of transportation. And I bring that up because when you look at the total value of the contract, Cruz comes in $90,000 less than Nossaman. $90,000 over 3.5 years. That's significant. And we actually changed our we changed our outside our auditors from KPMG to Crow for that same amount of money. And so I'm not saying we shouldn't have advocacy services up in Sacramento. We absolutely should. But are we doing a service by just saying, well, Nossaman knows us? That was the same argument that was made for KPMG, but Crow's come in and done a fantastic job for us. How fast would it take Cruz to come up to speed and save us $90,000?
Well, Director, can I address that, the coming in as number 2 with Cruz?
Yeah.
This was a best value RFP to include price and other factors. And one of those other factors was the level of experience, capability, and resources that Nossaman can provide. Nossaman also presented a very detailed and well thought out work plan. And while Cruz is well connected and very qualified, I would absolutely agree with that. As the score sheets reflect, the evaluation team unanimously believed that Nossaman's proposal was superior to the other proposers.
And so justify the $90,000.
I would say,
we talk about the privacy issue,
right?
And this is another thing I think we should be talking about. We're a tolling agency. There are other tolling agencies around the state. We've got OCTA tolls, RCTC tolls, San Bernardino tolls. We've got agencies up in the Bay Area. Why are we not consolidating resources? This is transportation tolling issues. We all basically have the same issues.
Right.
And the legislation that we're going to fight is generally opposed by every transportation agency, or it's opposed by every, or opposed or supported by every agency.
Right.
And so why would we not go and work and pool our resources? Because what I understand on the privacy issue, TCA is carrying the majority of the water on this. Why are we doing that? Why are we not working with OCTC, OCTA, RCTC, and San Bernardino? For sure. I mean, they're right here in our backyard.
So thank you for bringing that up, because I'd like to clarify that. We are most definitely working as a coalition. It is obviously a very high priority for TCA by the virtue of the large number of transactions that the agency processes every day. But it's also a priority for the others. LA Metro and the Bay Area are moving ahead in collaboration with TCA and the other tolling agencies. It has been a very collaborative effort, and we would not have gotten as far as we did if we weren't acting as a coalition. So your point is well taken. It's important to work together, and we most definitely are doing that.
So who's bearing the brunt of the cost?
You know, I can't speak to what the other agencies are paying in resources. I do know that Nossaman is quite qualified and has been providing TCA with excellent counsel on this issue.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with you on that. I'm just saying that if we're doing the lion's share of the work, shouldn't the other agencies be offsetting some of that cost? If we're actually working collaboratively.
I would say that they definitely are. Each agency has their lobby firm, and the bill initially was introduced by Senator Allen out of LA, and LA Metro was very engaged and involved in giving his agreement to author the legislation. So there's definitely been an equal distribution of work amongst the agencies.
Okay, well, I guess it still gets back to, I have zero doubt that Cruz could come up to speed quickly on this, knowing what they do for a living. I just haven't heard why we should spend an additional $90,000 on Nossaman. I understand that they should have the best proposal. They basically, they set up our JPA. They know more about us than probably we even know about ourselves. And so they should write the best proposal, without a doubt. It brings me to another issue I had. I wasn't really going to talk about it, but it was confusing. We sit in some committees where we send contracts out for bid and we do not advance certain people because they didn't put things in the contract, in the proposal that were asked for. And now we're saying these other people put stuff in the contract that we didn't ask for. So they're showing, you reward one side for showing what their capabilities are, and you're penalizing the other side on what their capabilities are. It's confusing to me how we're evaluating these contracts. Do we have
Thank you very much, Director Miller. I would like to move on to other people's comments if possible. And if you need to ask any more, we can come back to you at the end, but we do have other board members that would like to speak.
Well, that's my point. I don't understand. You haven't justified the $90,000. You can come back to me.
Okay.
Director Wong?
Thank you. My concern from the beginning has been about an evergreen contract. So I was very glad to see that we have received these RFP responses, and that most importantly, that Ms. Daly went out and found an independent individual to review the contract. Had a chance to speak with her, and she moved the dial for me because there was an independent independent evaluator, and that's important to me. As for Nossaman, in looking at everything, is that in understanding each of these firms, tolling and transportation is definitely different from other types of transportation issues or transit issues that people like to just throw in together. And as TCA's rep to SCAG, which is a transportation heavy agency, I have really, along with Director Menegar, have really learned a lot about transportation, and different from what we do as an agency. That for me, it's very important that we have a firm that actually understands transportation, and not in terms of tolling and the operation. The biggest concern we need to always address and be on top of is the privacy issue. We all know what will happen to this agency and other agency if we are not in line with expectations of people's privacy and what we are required to meet. I do want to say, as to the other firms, I'm not interested to be TCA to be the first tolling agency that a firm ever picked up, and then they will learn on the job. what this pandemic has shown to us is legislation already moves pretty fast when they're ready to go. But when you have a pandemic, in blink of an eye, a bill that you thought was dead or may not be proceeding is all of a sudden on the floor. This is why expertise is very, very important. Maybe 3 years from now, we said, hey, we learned from pandemic, that won't happen. So we'll look at somebody else. But for me, as long as we're under this pandemic situation and the speed of legislation, I just don't see going with somebody who's going to learn on the job is going to assist this agency. I think it will be detrimental to this agency. As for the cost, I think as directors, we need to consider this. Other agencies, OCTAs, the Bay Area, BART, or even RCTC, they have a full staff, more than one individual working on legislation. And on top of that, they have their own lobbyist. We have one staff member, so we're a contract agency. I see more savings than I do. I'm not hung up on contract amount here. I'm looking at overall savings. I think as a contract agency, we are definitely on top of that. The other thing is I wasn't prepared to speak on this, but Ms. Director Miller brought it up about consolidating with other agencies. I can tell you that within the state of California, TCA is known as the best toll operator, and we have the best operation, and people learn from us. We're leaders. I'm not interested in consolidating with other agencies when they only drag us down. All right, I think we should work collaboratively. But to join others and somehow consolidate where we are no longer the leader of on this issue, and we're not the innovator, that to me is a discussion that should be off the table. We do well. This is why our bond agencies like the finances of this agency. I have heard conversations from other agencies wanting to know how we run everything so they can do better. So with that, and lastly, I just don't see the reason for saying, the CEO can direct 25,000 and come back for discussion, because like I said, legislation move fast. There's no time for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Wong.
Director Chamberlain?
No comments, thank you.
Alternate Goebel?
Yes, thank you. It was really helpful hearing everybody's comments and Samuel's discussion about what things the money will be used for. So that was very helpful. And now that we know the additional money for the subcontractors is pulled out, Supervisor Bartlett can support this item. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, Director Miller, I think I'd like to get to a point that we have 5-minute discussions by board members and then allow other members to speak and then go back. So I will go back to Director Miller. Did you want to speak further?
Yeah, just real quick. I think Director Wong
Thank you.
just pointed something out for me that I have considered is in this time of pandemic and what's going on up there. I understand, and that may justify the $90,000, the speed of which NASM can respond. I just want to clarify something. When I said consolidate, our effort was not consolidate as tolling agencies, but to work together on the tolling legislation. That's all I was talking about. And bringing their lobbyists and our lobbyists together and sharing ideas and figuring out how we advance the goals of all agencies moving forward. That's all I was saying, not consolidating services. So with that, I think that Director Wong's got to change my mind on this, and I think I can support it. Thanks.
Very much for your clarification. So at this time, I'm going to move to the San Joaquin Board to get a motion and a second, and we will first be moving item 1 of the recommendation. Is there a motion?
This is Director Penaloza. I'll make a motion to approve staff recommended action.
Okay, thank you. Item 1, yes. Is there a second? I'll second it for San Joaquin. So there's a motion by Director Penaloza, second by Director Shea. Will please go through the roll for item 1 of San Joaquin Board.
Vice Chair O'Neill? Director James,
No.
alternate Goebel,
Yes.
Director Connors,
Yes.
Director Hess,
Yes.
Director Minigar,
Yes.
Director Penaloza,
Yes.
Director Shea,
Yes.
Director Stevens,
Yes.
Director Taylor,
Yes.
Director Vixerick,
Aye.
Director Wagner,
Aye.
Vice Chair O'Neill. Noting the recusal of Director or Chair Kelly and the absence of Vice Chair O'Neill and Director Munsing, the item passes.
Thank you. So now we will move to the second, John McKean's second motion, which is item 2, authorize Chief Executive Officer to approve a specialized subcontracting services. So with that, we will go through the roll call. Oh, I'm sorry, we need a motion and a second from Sam McKean.
John Taylor,
Madam Chair.
motion for approval.
I'm sorry, who is that? I didn't.
Director Taylor.
Taylor, okay. And you
Madam
seconded
Chair.
it, Director? Yes.
Madam Chair, before you proceed, I have a question from Ms. Daly. And that's in reference to Senate Bill 743, which is basically the VMT, is a very complicated process. And I want to make sure that whoever would be providing support, sub-consulting services to Nossaman would be the best, because they have to do an independent and objective assessment of the interpretation of the new law as it pertains to the environmental and transportation. And on item number 2, which is the one that we are going to be taking an action, I don't see a name. Is it construed as we are going to be approving the allocation of, for example, $63,000 for San Joaquin Hills, and then it would be the discretion of TCA staff when time arises, and if it's a conditional statement, Nossaman would say that we do need support services, then TCA staff has to put out RFPs on a national basis. Actually, in this case, has to be California, for Californian firms to submit their proposals, and then you have to go through the interview process, and then you have to select the best for the agency. Is it correct, Ms. Daly?
No, that would not be the case.
Director.
Let's let our CEO answer that question, and I appreciate the question, CEO.
Okay, thank you. Director Minigar, I think it's important to note the two different aspects of what you're referring to. So when it comes to the VMT analysis and that type of work we may have to do related to our projects, I'm going to ask our Deputy CEO, Ms. McFall, to explain more around that area, because I think that's where the procurement that you're referring to may come in. Right now, what we're talking about is legislative efforts related around that topic, where we may need someone who can help us promote the board's adopted position on VMT-related legislation. In that case, it would not go through a big procurement, because again, we're asking for this flexibility to be able to move quickly. So we want to be agile. So in that case, we might reach out to known entities that maybe Nossaman is aware of, or Ms. Daly, or some of our other contacts to find the right person who can help us at that time.
Right. And as far as any effort needed to do an actual VMT analysis, that would go before the board. We do have, the board did approve on-call contracts for traffic engineering recently. And so we will look to those firms to make sure that they have the specialized services. And should they not, then the agency staff would return to the board of directors for authorization to do that analysis, obviously in coordination with Caltrans, our transportation partner, but also with the board's oversight.
Very good. I appreciate for your responses, and I wanted to make a motion to move this item on behalf of San Joaquin Hills.
Okay, well, we had the motion by Taylor. Will you second that then? Is that okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Director Taylor made the motion. Okay, so the motion's made by Director Taylor, second by Director Minigar. At this time, will the clerk please call the roll for item 2 for San Joaquin?
Vice Chair O'Neill,
Yes, and I was a yes on the last vote. I've switched over to a different microphone.
thank you. Director James,
No.
alternate Goebel,
Just because there's no subcontractors or scope of work, no.
Director Connors,
Yes.
Director Heft,
Yes.
Director Minigar, Director Penaloza,
sorry, it was yes.
Here's Minigar right here. Okay.
Director Penaloza,
Yes.
Director Shea,
Yes.
Director Stevens,
Yes.
Director Taylor,
Yes.
Director Vixerick,
Aye.
Director Wagner.
Aye.
Noting the recusal of Chair Kelly and the absence of Director Munzing, the item passes 11-2.
Okay, now we will move to Foothill Eastern. I will need a motion. This will be to adopt item 1. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
Joplin Lake Forest move, please.
Second, Kring.
Second?
Joplin Lake Forest
Second.
move, please.
Okay, so we had, well, I'm glad all the enthusiasm is there. That's great. So we have Director Puckett made the motion, second by Director Voice. Can we now please call the roll on item 1 for Foothill Eastern?
Chair Shea,
Yes.
Vice Chair Puckett,
Yes.
alternate Goebel,
Yes.
Director Beal,
Yes.
Director Chafee,
Aye.
Director Wong,
Yes.
Director Kring,
Aye.
Director Mueller,
Aye.
Director Murphy,
Aye.
Director Penaloza,
Yes.
Director Taylor,
Yes.
Director Voice,
Yes.
Director Wagner,
Aye.
Director Ward.
I'm a no, and I would like to state for the record that I'm a no because that we must hire Nossaman specifically because of the nuances associated with our Joint Powers Authority. Why is our agreement nuanced? Our JPA is not straightforward so that another firm cannot represent us in Sacramento.
This is a time for a vote. It's not time for discussion, but I
No,
thank
no,
you
no.
that we received it now.
I'm sorry, but I am able to record for the record if I am a no vote. So
No, I
I'm
know,
gonna
I know.
recuse-
But I'm just asking if I just don't want to get into a long discussion, but you're certainly welcome to announce why you voted no.
Okay, and that's what I'm doing. I'm only doing that. It's not for discussion. So what I've already said, please, hold on a second. If our JPA is not straightforward, something that Nossaman wrote, it makes it so that another firm cannot represent us because they can't figure out what we have done here. I don't care how much you try to firewall Nossaman's work as general counsel, their lobbying arm of their LLP, they still have a conflict. They're on too many sides of this equation. I see this as an armament against Senator Bates, whether she reintroduces a bill or not this next session. I think all elected officials in this agency should contact Senator Bates. She is someone that was on this agency over a decade. We should find out why she is introducing a bill, why this is being
Excuse
done.
me, I think you've made your point clear. You're going too far into discussion. I don't believe that that affiliates with the no vote to go on and on.
No,
So I will
I think
have
it
to
is a
stop
no
here,
vote.
and I appreciate your comments. We will note them in the record.
Please.
Thank you. So,
No, hold
No,
on,
I'm
one,
sorry,
I have one
Yeah, I'm
last
sorry.
comment. The contract is too much money, and it is because we are arming Nossaman to proactively do things without the board knowing what they're doing, and we should not be voting for. We're going backwards on what we said we were going to do.
okay, thank you so much for your comments, and I will move to the next vote. Thank you. And your comments will be noted in the record.
Noting the
Thank you.
recusal of Director Kelly, the item passes 13-1.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, we'll now move to item 2 of the first Foothill Eastern. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved, Kring.
Okay, Director Crean made a motion.
Second,
Do we have a
Scott
second?
Boyd.
Scott Boyce made the second. We have a motion and a second. We'll now have to please call the roll.
Chair Shay,
Yes.
Vice Chair Puckett,
Yes.
Alternate Goebel,
No, and it's for the same reason that there's not enough clarity in terms of subcontractors and deliverables for this item.
Director Beal,
Yes.
Director Chafee,
Aye.
Director Wong,
Yes.
Director Crane,
Aye.
Director Mueller,
Aye.
Director Murphy,
Aye.
Director Penaloza,
Yes.
Director Taylor,
Yes.
Director Voigt,
Yes. Yes.
Director Wagner,
Aye.
Director Ward.
I'm a no, and it's because there are no consultants identified or any detail on deliverables.
Noting the recusal of Director Kelly, the item passes 12-2.
Thank you. I appreciate, Director Ward, that you made your comments succinct, and we'll make sure that they are referenced in the minutes for you. So with that, we have concluded that item 7. Now we'll move to public comments, part 2. Clerk, are there any public comments at this time?
No further public comments at this time.
Wonderful. So at this time, we'll move to Chief Executive Officer's report. You have a report to be made.
So just briefly, Madam Chair, I'm happy to report information from our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Potter. We continue to perform well in terms of traffic and revenue as compared to our adopted budget. So we have a conservative optimism. So we want to continue to toe the line. But as things stand, our strong fiscal position that we've developed over the last several years continues. So I will work with the CFO to bring an update to the board.
And I'd appreciate that. I think all board members do want, in this public, we want to have regular updates, and I think that's very important. So thank you. Okay, with that, we'll turn to director reports. Is there any director's report or new business that need to be discussed? Okay, with that, we'll move to closed session. I will turn this over to our legal counsel, George Joseph, to provide the closed session discussion before us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We will be convening a closed session. There will be a joint Foothill Eastern and San Joaquin Hills closed session regarding 2 items: public employee performance evaluation under Government Code Section 54957, Subdivision B1, conference with labor negotiators under Government Code Section 54957.6, both items relating to the Chief Executive Officer and Interim Chief Executive Officer positions. And the negotiators are Christina Shea, Patricia Kelly, and George Joseph. The unrepresented employee in terms of the negotiations is Samuel Johnson. Then we will convene a Foothill Eastern only closed session to discuss conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation under subdivisions A and D1 of Government Code Section 54956.9 and regarding anticipated litigation under 54956.9. We do not anticipate any reportable action. And that is my report in the closed session.
Thank you very much. So at this time, we'll have the clerks assure that we are moving in the right direction, and then the outside the streaming is closed off.
5-minute break.
5-minute break? Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break. We'll be right back.
We're live.
Okay, go ahead and start recording.
Yep.
Okay, so we're now back into open session. We'll turn to our city attorney.
I have nothing to report, Madam.
I mean, our
Or whatever we are, attorney.
our TCA attorney is sorry. Yes, we have nothing to report.
Nothing to
So with
report.
that, we will move to adjournment, and the date will be, we'll be having our November meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
We'll just get the date real quick.
November 12th.
November 12th, we'll be reconvening our next meeting. So thank you so very much for all your hard work and effort, and everybody's patience with us having to go into closed session. Have a good week. Bye-bye.
That'll be my last.
Thank you.
Thanks, Madam Chair.